Let's get right into it, because today we are breaking down the U.S. men's national team's massive 2-0 round of 32 victory over Bosnia-Herzegovina. Now, if you followed this match, you already know it was an absolute roller coaster of emotions. We had early jubilation, we had mid-game controversy, and we had a gritty defensive masterclass that ultimately sealed the deal. But this wasn't just your standard win. It was an incredibly revealing look into the character and, honestly, the maturity of this current squad under Mauricio Pochettino.
2002. I want you to just really think about that number for a second. That was the very last time the USMNT won a knockout game at the World Cup. It has literally been over 2 whole decades since American fans have been able to celebrate a victory in the knockout stages of this tournament. So that alone establishes just how monumentally historic this 2-0 result is. It's not just a step forward in this specific tournament, it's like a massive generational hurdle has finally been cleared for the entire program.
So, here's our rundown for today's post-match storylines. A historic victory, the red card controversy, surviving with 10 men, the standout player performances, and finally, the Belgium challenge ahead. Kicking things off with Section 1, a historic victory and its psychological impact.
World Cup winner and former USMNT manager Jurgen Klinsmann weighed in heavily on this, and he emphasized that this was an absolutely deserved win. He pointed out that the U.S. completely dictated the tempo of the game. They didn't let Bosnia into the match at all. They were focused, they played smart, and they just showed immense professionalism to secure their spot in the round of 16. Klinsmann actually called this result psychologically extremely important because, well, it injects this massive wave of confidence into the squad. They prove they absolutely belong on this stage.
Moving right along to Section 2, the red card controversy, specifically Balogun's red card.
So the defining moment of the match, the real controversy, centered entirely around Fulren Balogun. He had already scored a slightly lucky but absolutely crucial opening goal to put the U.S. up 1-0. But then, he was sent off after stepping on an opponent's Achilles. Now, as the analyst pointed out, football is a contact sport, right? In real time, it looked like a player just trying to step back and avoid a collision. But when you slow it down frame by frame on VAR, the contact across the Achilles looks undeniably terrible. It essentially left the referee with what looked like a super easy red card to dissect under the microscope.
And this comparison perfectly illustrates the core frustration coming from the pundits, the sheer, maddening inconsistency of VAR. I mean, think about it. Recently, Lionel Messi committed a nearly identical action, stepping across an opponent in a very similar fashion, and he completely avoided review. It wasn't even called a foul. But when Balogun does it, the play is immediately taken to VAR, slowed down picture by picture, and he's instantly ejected.
Analyst Herculez Gomez basically hit the nail on the head here. Now, in this explainer, we aren't taking a stance on the official rulebook itself, but it is absolutely crucial to understand how deeply frustrating this lack of consistency is. For the fans, the players, and especially manager Mauricio Pochettino, it's just maddening. If you're going to review one and give a red, why isn't the other one even looked at? When things are consistent, they're so much easier to digest. But right now, a star player is missing because of an application of technology that feels entirely subjective.
Which brings us to Section 3, surviving with 10 men, where their resilience was truly tested.
When that red card was shown, man, I know a lot of fans instantly felt that collective panic set in. Herculez Gomez noted that he immediately started getting flashbacks to the Copa America. In that tournament, Tim Ream got a silly red card against Panama, putting the U.S. in a massive hole. The team completely collapsed, Panama overtook them, and it led to this really humiliating exit that made the U.S. the first host country ever to get eliminated in the group phase. Past iterations of this squad would have folded under this exact same pressure. They literally would have just buckled. But look at how things actually played out this time. Despite Balogun's early goal and the controversial red card mid-match, they didn't just sit back and panic. Instead, they played a really smart, highly calculated 30 minutes defensively and still managed to find a vital 82nd minute dagger from Malik Tillman on a free kick to seal the 2-0 victory. They didn't just survive the storm, they navigated a way out of it.
And honestly, what's even more impressive is how incredibly organized the defense was during this whole trial. The backline was so rock solid that despite throwing absolutely everything forward with a man advantage, Bosnia couldn't even manage to truly test the U.S. goalkeeper Matt Freese. Jermaine Jones made a great point that the U.S. never just parked the bus to blindly absorb pressure. They were always looking for a release valve. And that right there showcases a vastly more mature mentality than we've seen in any of their previous tournaments.
Let's pivot over to Section 4, standout players and our individual heroes.
The panel just had rapid-fire praise for these absolute pillars of the team. Jurgen Klinsmann singled out Weston McKennie, praising his relentless energy, his aggressiveness, and his sheer leadership on the pitch. Then you've got Tim Ream. Coming into this, people were a bit worried about his pace, right? But he was right there, acting as a calm, quiet leader who anchored a fantastic, incredibly consistent backline. Malik Tillman obviously provided that flash of sheer brilliance with the dead ball free kick that essentially ended the game, and Tyler Adams was right there stepping up in all the most crucial defensive moments.
The authoritative consensus from the panel was loud and clear. This was a true big boy performance. They got tested, they stuck with each other, they fought through it, and they earned a result they absolutely deserved. It proves this team is finally maturing and is genuinely ready for the biggest, most high-pressure stages in world football.
Finally, let's look ahead in Section 5, the Belgium Challenge.
Jurgen Klinsmann strongly believes this specific matchup is highly doable. The U.S. actually has a massive advantage with a deep roster and soaring confidence, meaning guys like Ricardo Pepi are fresh and available to step in. Contrast that with Belgium's current reality. This is a completely different, older, and far more vulnerable squad than we saw 4, 8, or 12 years ago. I mean, they were thoroughly exposed in their match against Senegal.
But we gotta address the massive elephant in the room here. The U.S. will have to face this Belgium challenge entirely without Balogun. He had already scored 3 huge goals in this tournament before his suspension. It is exceptionally rare to have a striker that dynamic and dangerous, someone who can just create for himself and for others on the World Cup stage. Sitting out this next game is going to be a really tough pill to swallow for him, and his absence leaves a huge void up top that Pochettino is desperately going to have to figure out how to fill.
So it really all comes down to this incredible test of depth and character. The foundation is absolutely there, the defense looks solid, and team confidence is soaring. But it leaves us with one major question. Can this newfound resilience and maturity actually carry them past a vulnerable Belgian side, even without their star striker? That is the ultimate question heading into the round of 16. What do you think?